Hello, and it's good to have you join us again on Maritime Radar. The role of a freight forwarder, also known as a non-vessel operating common carrier in the maritime industry, cannot be overemphasized. Their key job is to organize shipments for individuals, corporations, get goods from the manufacturer or producer to a market, customer, or the final point of distribution. International freight forwarders have additional expertise in preparing, processing customs and other documentation in addition to performing activities pertaining to international shipments. This requires requisite training to enable freight forwarders to discharge their duties professionally, repositioning Nigeria's freight forwarding sector to ensure its growth through professionalism and competitiveness are some of the issues that will be on the front burner on today's show. I'm Norma Obiaswalu. The port plays a key role in connecting nations, trades, and economies. This has profound impact on trade volume and transport costs. However, the sector is confronted with many challenges such as new standards and modernization to achieve international best practice, especially in areas of security, safety, environmental management, port operation, and services. The ever-evolving and changes in information technology, inter- and intra-regional competition, the ever-increasing size of ships, cargo handling equipment, and traffic growth, amongst others. Africa must have the ability to cope with such rapidly advancing realities in order to benefit from the trade opportunities. Before we get further into today's lineup on the program, let's find out the latest in maritime news.
Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima has officially inaugurated a comprehensive $115 million upgrade project at APM Terminal's West Africa Container Terminal in One, Rivers State. The Vice President, who was represented by the Personal Assistant to the President on Subnational Infrastructure, Musaddiq Mustafa, commended APM Terminals for its huge investment in WACT, assuring that the federal government was committed to providing an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. On his part, the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy assured of the ministry's continued support to terminal operators to modernize the port and reduce the cost of doing business at the nation's gateway. The Comptroller General of Customs, Adewale Adeniyi, on his part, said the upgrade will support the efforts of the Nigeria Customs Service to generate more revenue, facilitate trade, and curtail the smuggling of harmful and dangerous goods into Nigeria. In a tragic occurrence, a migrant boat capsized in the English Channel, resulting in the death of at least 12 people. French Interior Minister Gerald Damanin confirmed the tragedy and announced that rescue operations are ongoing to locate 2 individuals still missing. The incident highlights the severity of the migrant crisis, with over 2,000 people arriving in Britain on small boats in the past week. The British and French governments have prioritized tackling illegal migration, with leaders pledging to work together to dismantle smuggling routes. The English Channel's strong currents and busy shipping lanes make the crossing perilous, and this incident is not an isolated event. Steve Smith, CEO of Care for Calais, is calling for action, stating that the focus on security measures is not reducing crossings, but rather pushing migrants to take greater risks, adding that every political leader on both sides of the channel needs to be asked how many lives will be lost before they end these avoidable tragedies. The MSC Antonia is the latest vessel to lose containers overboard in winter storms off South Africa due to diversions around the Cape of Good Hope. On August 28, the Liberian flagged ship lost 46 containers and suffered damage to 305 more in the Indian Ocean corridor. A navigation warning has been issued to all vessels operating in the affected area. The MSC Antonia arrived safely in Cape Town on August 30 and will undergo a comprehensive assessment and necessary repairs. The incident follows the loss of 99 containers from the CMA CGM Belém on August 16 and 44 containers from the CMA CGM Benjamin Franklin in July. All 3 vessels were on voyages between Asia and Europe, diverting around the Cape of Good Hope due to security concerns in the Red Sea. The diversion has exposed vessels to severe winter storms in the region, highlighting the risks of navigating this route. Container ships typically transit the Red Sea and Suez Canal, but the majority have diverted to the Cape of Good Hope route to avoid attacks by Houthi rebels in Yemen.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Maritime Radar. Trade agreements hold immense potential. They also present challenges for Nigerian freight forwarders, which includes complying with various rules of origin, documentation requirements, and product standards across trade blocks. This can become complex and time-consuming. Freight forwarders must stay informed and up to date on the ever-changing trade regulations within this agreement to provide efficient logistics solutions to their clients. Moreover, trade agreements can influence cargo flows and demand patterns, affecting the choice of transportation routes and logistics strategies. Understanding these shifts and adapting to the changing trade dynamics is vital for freight forwarders to maintain a competitive edge. Our guest, Dr. Kayode Farinto, is a port activist and former acting national president of the Association of Nigerian Licensed Customs Agents, ANLCA. He shares on port operation challenges and the zero duty food imports announced by the federal government. Stay with us. It's good to have you on the show, sir.
Thank you. I'm delighted, madam.
Okay, let's start this conversation looking at port operations challenges.
Yeah.
So how do we begin to address these challenges so that we can achieve ease of doing business, trade facilitation, and blocking revenue leakages?
Well, it's a three-way thing, and the fact that this issue have been a recurrent issue is very, very embarrassing to Nigeria. But I give it to this government because when this Bola Tinubu government came on board, they ensured that the road to the seaport is being opened. You know, it was Dangote that actually constructed the road. So the issue of gridlock became a thing of the past. I also give that kudos to the Nigerian Port Authority, who did a very good job by issue of the calling up system. If you don't have any business in the seaport, whether to load, you don't have a TDO, you don't need to cluster around our seaport. Unlike what we had in the last few years. It's been better, but it's not what we expect it to be. I've visited many ports and I know how it is when you talk about various challenges. Let me talk the issue of the road first. The government, by now, we're supposed to be thinking about three-way transport system. 90% of the cargoes that enter this, either inbound import or export, are actually through the road. So meaning that we are even overstressing our road. What about the waterways? Before now, badges were introduced when we had congestion, but because of the taxes that were imposed on these badges, they all ran away. So that one has been defeated. The issue of rail system, the government has not really said anything about it. And instead of that, government is actually putting more emphasis or concentration on the rails that are carrying human rail, not cargo rail. We don't really have cargo rail. And that is actually speeding down either delivery or exportation. On the import, on the other hand, we have too many challenges. I've just spoken about the road. There are other challenges vis-a-vis the fact that the various shipping companies that are bringing in this cargo are also slamming some illegitimate demand notices on the importer. And the importer, whether you like it or not, whatever happens, no matter the overhead cost that accrues on a particular cargo is transferred to the final consumer. And that's why I want to say that we've not been better off that the way we're supposed to be. The issue of various challenges as regards port operation. There are too many challenges. I also take up the issue of our port concessioning. I remember that we celebrated over that our port were concessioned over 10 years ago. And has there been any value added? Yeah, so some terminal operators, there are some like build, own, and transfer like PTML. They're doing very well. There are some indigenous that are also doing well, like CFAS. But there are some who actually were given this terminal. They have not really improved on it. Because in this century, you should be talking about the latest handling equipment, cargo handling equipment. So if you do not have it, it is going to tell on the time of delivery. It's going to tell on the time you are able to deliver or a vessel calls in the port, is being battered and is able to unstop. So these challenges are still very there. Take and leave, we still have various port operation challenges that if I start talking from now, in the next 1 hour, I'm still talking about it. So we still have it.
Okay, so let me look at the key infrastructures you mentioned, which is critical to drive our port operations. So recently, I know that Nigerian Railway Corporation and Nigerian Shippers Council signed an MOU to ensure that rail comes to the port to move cargoes to the hinterlands. Do you say that is not reflected?
Until it is implemented. The one thing about beautiful thing about Nigeria is that signing MOUs and whatever is not thing you need to celebrate nowadays. Implementation first. If it is implemented, we see how it is being implemented and is a success. Then we start giving them kudos or start clapping for them. For now, I've not seen anything.
So does it mean that you were not carried along?
No, if freight forwarders were not carried along, that's number one. Then secondly, after the signing of the MOU, what happened? It's over 1 or 2 weeks now that it's been signed. The Shippers Council are supposed to have rolled out information to Nigerian shippers. We did sign an MOU with Nigerian Railway. This is what is expected in this quarter, whether a short-term basis, a long-term basis, in the next 30 days, this is what you are expected, you shipper. It has not been done. So everything is shrouded in secrecy until we see the implementation done. That's on one hand.
Obviously, that's why.
Let me also mention this, talking about infrastructure. The port concession agreement did mention that the federal government will be responsible for 24 hours electricity. We don't have it. We're supposed to be doing a 24 hours delivery on cargo. It's not possible now because I can't just load a cargo at night and that cargo is being looted on the road. And we do not even have what is called delineation of port area. Where does this start? Where does it end? These are the things that happen in advanced countries. I have not traveled, at least I've traveled to about 30 countries that I can tell you how their ports are being run. Are we really serious about this port operation? The government itself, when Blue Economy was created, I'm one of those that even wrote that let us balkanize Ministry of Transportation for us to have Blue Economy so that Nigeria will move forward. Have we actually moved forward?
So will you say that we were better off in the Ministry of Transportation?
Yes, that's where it is now. Because even the Ministry of Blue Economy is confused. They don't even know what to do. Ordinarily, when the ministry was created, you are supposed to call the stakeholders. This ministry has been created. Give us idea on how to drive it. You have a blue economy now where a ministry where the Ministry of Transportation, they still have interwoven. They still have some of the directors that are working with the Minister of Transportation and working with the Minister of Blue Economy.
So you don't even know where they belong.
So where's Eureka? And after 1 year, you cannot really say this is the success of this ministry. It's very, very unfortunate.
Okay, if our ports must be obviously competitive, it has to be efficient.
Definitely.
And some of the reasons why it is not efficient is what you have mentioned now. So how do we begin to achieve this efficiency, moving away from these challenges that seems numerous, that seems insurmountable? So how do we begin? Is it rocket science?
It is not a rocket science. The issue is that you need a round peg in a round hole.
Okay.
You need somebody who has the technical know-how at the various ministry. You don't just put somebody who maybe was once this or that in the 1970s and you think is going to be able to operate in this millennia. Even we that are even like this, we still have what various challenges that at times I need to bend back and ask the youth, what do you think is happening? How do we traverse this area? So it is not happening until we have that, until we have people that would know, that have the technical know-how. That's when we can move forward. For example, Minister of Blue Economy is a bunch of failure, with due respect. But that's the way I can say it.
But if you say he doesn't know what to do, I was part of those who covered even live in December, if I'm correct, where stakeholders gathered in a room. I think we were there from morning till about past 5, where they were brainstorming. We saw in a table different subsectors, and they were able to put together things that could drive the blue economy. So are you telling me that it was a wasted exercise?
No,
because this 9 months after.
Let me put it to you. After that, what happened? Number one, there was supposed to be what do you call it? Release. That this is our
communique.
This is our communique. At the end of this deliberation, having discovered this is what a communique. Then who monitors it? The project is supposed to be a short term, long term, in medium term. What have they done? Okay, now that they have done meeting, December, you said. We are now in September, almost going to another 1 year.
Okay, the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy should just give policy direction.
Yes.
The implementers are these maritime agencies, NIMASA, NPA, NIWA, and Shippers Council. So are you saying they are also failing in implementing, or because maybe there's not even policy?
They are failed, particularly Nigerian Shippers Council. I keep saying it. By virtue of the establishment of Nigerian Shippers Council, it is the aim of establishing Shippers Council is to promote and to protect Nigerian shippers. And this, they have failed. We have various shipping companies and various terminal operators. Let me say shipping company, for example, slamming legitimate charges on Nigerian cargoes and Nigerian importers. And when you write to them that this is happening, they will write back to you that we acknowledge your letter. After that, nothing happens.
Okay, let's come back to another key player in our ports, which is the customs. They said that they have these time release studies. Which is supposed to aid cargo clearance and or trade facilitation. How has that fared?
I have not seen the impact. Due respect. I've been in this industry for the past 3 decades. So if I'm talking like an expert. If I'm talking, I should be talking like a professor. When you talk about time release study, you look at the factors that are militating against cargo clearance in the area of customs. Has all these things been looked at? It has not been. And fortunately, the pilot port is even Tinkan Island, where this will have been a success. But the issue is not being implemented how it's supposed to be. So we have a situation where your cargo is still delayed unnecessarily. We have a situation where the moment you are making your declaration, there are more than 7-8 alerts on a particular cargo. So what is time release study in that area? You still have a situation where the documentation that you are doing on a cargo is still very, very numerous.
So entirely, how many days does it take to even clear a cargo in Lagos ports?
It depends. We have a particular port that is a model port like PTML. PTML, you can clear your cargo under 2-3 days. Any other port is minimum of 1 week.
Okay, so
where is the time release study?
In your view, time release studies has failed.
Time release study will have been a success, but human element. And Nigerian Customs Service itself is not serious with time release study. If an officer delay a document unnecessarily, what happens to that officer? What punishment has been meted to that officer? And if you want to really say time release study should time every document. Madam, you have my document in the last 3 hours. I am being in your office, you say you are eating. After eating, you say you are praying. After praying, you say you want to go to mosque. That same document. When you now come back, you say, I have closed for today, come tomorrow. It's still under time release studies.
So how do we marry the worrisome decline in the number of cargoes calling in our ports with the increased revenue customs cubes?
It is not.
How do we marry it? So where did they get that?
It's not a rocket science. Let me just tell you, when Hamed Ali was there, the exchange rate was, I think it's for 500 naira. Now, as of today, the exchange rate is 1,000, either 500 something or 1,600. So it's triple what we've been collecting. So it is a simple arithmetic. If we have been having 100 cargo before at 600 naira exchange rate, now we have 50 cargo or even 40 cargo at exchange rate of 1,600. So that will now cover up for the decline in the import. And from my investigation, we have 4 categories of cargo. We have the bulk cargo, we have the general containers, we have the vehicles import. On the bulk cargo, our import has dropped by about 30%. On the container cargo, our import has dropped about 45%. On vehicles, our importation has dropped by about 60%.
So what's responsible for this drop?
It's the exchange rate.
We are due for a break. When we return, more revelations on the rot in Nigerian ports and also zero import duty on food items. That will be after this short break. Please stay with us.
Africa needs its own storytellers, people who understand the continent because they're from it. People who know that news is more than just a conversation starter, it's our stories. Because these stories run deeper than headlines and segments. It's about digging deeper to get the facts and telling the human side of every single story, not just the echoes from foreign headlines and perspectives. It's time to take back our narratives and share them in our voices. The birth of Africa's New Age reporting, and this is where it begins, right here at News Central TV, with stories that put Africa first.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Maritime Reader, and I still have with me Dr. Kayode Farinto. He is the former acting national president, ANLCA. He is also the MD, CEO, Wealthy Honey Investment Nigeria Limited. Before we went on that break, I said we are going to have more revelations on the rot and corruption in our ports.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about that?
Corruption. Corruption is a two-way thing, and I don't like to actually talk much on corruption because if the government wants to fight corruption, you build institutions. Where you don't build institutions, you expect corruption. For example, if you are making something difficult, you should expect that people will want to circumvent the procedure.
But the sad thing about it is that it's affecting the efficiency in our ports, which is affecting everyone to the final consumer. Because whatever you go through, whatever you pay that is illegal, you push back to the final consumers. So that's the problem of this rot.
Yes, that's why I say you need an enabling environment. When a shipper does not have an enabling environment and he might find his way of bringing out his cargo, you should. That's why what I meant when I say overhead cost. He adds all the overhead costs, the issue of bribe, what have you, and he pushes it to the final consumer. So for issue of corruption, government must be ready to fight it. So
sad, really. So let's move to this zero duty food imports federal government is introducing to address food security. You also know that customs have rolled out guidelines. How did this come to you when you
when Mr. President announced it, I actually clapped. But after that, my happiness just evaporated.
How? Why?
Yeah, because I looked at the implementation, and my fear is actually now becoming a reality. When you say we have issues of poverty, we have issues of starvation, and the government in a magnanimity saying that, okay, bring in food items, we are making it zero duty. The Ministry of Finance is making it cumbersome. The Ministry of Finance now has put in pegs to say, okay, you must be so, you must be somebody who has registered with the Ministry of Finance, who have been bringing in food items before. You must be somebody who has registered with. Before you know it, that 90 days window will close, and that food raw material will not still come to Nigeria.
Okay, so if this importation is not achieved before the deadline of December 31st, do you see an extension?
There will be an extension because some of us who are stakeholders want the implementation to run for 60 days. We'll now put up position letter to Mr. President, bringing up this issue, letting him know that the good policy that you have for Nigeria is not realizable due to these underlying factors. And I'm sure the President will listen to us. And it will be extended to March. That's when we can have sanity. If not, I just pray by November, we will start buying.
But are you saying that this, your letter will be able to change these guidelines? Is that what you're saying?
But at least the presidency will know that the good policy they have,
the
implementation is zero.
Okay, so Nigerians that are rejoicing at maybe sooner or later they will go to market and
the food will not come.
Oh, it won't even come.
Except they change that particular.
It won't even come.
Yes, except they change the policy.
Okay. So this question might be tricky, really. So because Nigerian Customs said that they are creating a special corridor to ensure that this food imports gets in.
That's what I just said.
The cumbersome. So
yes.
So have you seen any? To start with, have you seen any corridor?
Where is the corridor? Is the corridor of power? No, which corridor now? No, if customs will create corridor, you should know that at times that's why we say give customs autonomy. Because the moment Mr. President made that announcement, the management of Nigerian Customs Service will have sat down and said Nigerians are actually hungry. But when customs must take directives from finance, the T's will be dotted, the I's will be crossed, and before you know it, interest. Who do not want it to succeed now will print in, they just bring in their pebbles and what have you.
So in the middle of this quagmire, what's the way forward?
The way forward is for the governments or the presidency to know that the policy formulators must bend backward and call for town hall meeting with various stakeholders, collate ideas on how to move this country forward, number one, and how we can have food surplus in our economy, because if there's no food, it could lead to revolution. A man that is hungry can do anything. You must call stakeholders. You can't shave my head in my absence. Is it possible? Look at the issue of single window. You are forming a committee on single window, no freight forwarder in it. How will you drive it? It's already dead on arrival. You are formulating issue of single policy and single window. You are making FRS lead agency. Where is that one done? I have traveled wide and I know that talking about single window, it is the Nigerian Customs Service that should drive it.
Before I let you go, I must ask, now we have a dedicated ministry. How do we begin to address these issues? How will this ministry begin to address these issues to ensure that we have sanity in our ports, we have sanity in the industry?
The first thing they have to do is to look at the last Ministry of Transportation. You know, there's what we call boundary adjustment when states are created. Boundary adjustment, and this belongs to A state, this belongs to B state. I don't know whether that one has been done. If it has been done, then you need somebody that can drive that ministry. With due respect, the Minister of Blue Economy
cannot drive it.
He can't drive it.
Okay.
Where is the knowledge?
But do you have the heads of agencies? Do you think they can even implement whatever policies?
If Jangbadi jam Jangbadi is zero now, is whatever you dish into a computer that a computer brings out to you. It is an instruction from up. Whatever it gives up is whatever they implement. They can't go beyond. It is insubordination. You even have some lead agencies head that can even drive this ministry better than what we have now. People who are the vast knowledge of the industry.
So what we seem to see is motion without movement with the new Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, but that is sad. So it's been Dr. Kayode Farinto, former acting national president, ANLCA, and MD CEO, Wealthy Honey Investment Nigeria Limited, sharing with us issues, challenges in the maritime industry. I must thank you for your time and thoughts. Thank you for telling us, bearing your mind, bearing it the way it is. We are very, very grateful for this time. Thank you very much.
Very grateful.
And that's our show this week. I hope that the challenge behind delays in cargo clearance was addressed. Join us every week on Maritime Radar to explore potentials that will ensure the development of the maritime sector in Africa. You can also expect the latest in global and local maritime news plus industry insights right here. I'm Norma Obiaswalo. Thanks for your time and see you again next week.